Hi, welcome to Building SaaS with Python and Django. My name's Matt Lehman, and we work on Django apps on this stream. And I'm going to continue on my homeschool application this evening, and we'll see what we get done. My goal tonight is to work at least on styling an email for a sign-up flow that I've got going. And you can see before you, I have a new milestone that I've created. The app, I've been working on it for, I guess, about a year, and I'm ready to kind of launch it more publicly, but there are some things that I want to complete before I do that, and I've written them down on this list here. So that is going to be my focus over the next couple of weeks to make sure that the app is accessible to anyone who wants to use it. And so our focus tonight will be initially on this style sign-up emails issue, and if we have more time, we'll move on to other stuff, but that's my plan. If you want to keep in touch with me, there are plenty of ways to do so before we get into the actual coding tonight. You can check out mattlehman.com. I have a mailing list up there, and I write articles there. So I generally write about Python and Django, so you're welcome to follow me there. I'm also on GitHub and Twitter as MBLehman. Excuse me. And if you're enjoying my content and you want to support me financially, I do have a Patreon as well. That's patreon.com/MBLehman. And you can throw a few dollars my way and help support things like podcast hosting and other things that I try and do for the community. I do want to thank my existing patrons of Rupert, Abdulaziz, Patrick, and Eric. Thank you for contributing. I really appreciate it. And I guess as a final note, if you have questions that don't fit into tweets, if you don't want to tweet at me on Twitter, you're welcome to chat in a Discord that is linked below. So I check that pretty regularly and will be happy to answer you there. So let's get into this. You can ask me anything about Python, Django, or web development. That's what I'm here for. But we're going to focus specifically tonight, as I said, on an email to start. And we need to talk a bit about this, of what email am I trying to do, and a bit of context, and then we'll get to the code. So the system that I have for my site, which I now have a domain for, of the School Desk app is right here, is a sign-up process that will require email verification. And I want to do that to raise the bar just enough to make sure that I know who somebody is. It's a way to contact them when I need to reach out and perhaps tell them that their trial is about to end, whatever it might be. I want a real email address on file that they own, as a way to establish some relationship with them, some rapport. And so I'm using a extra package from Django called AllAuth. And AllAuth provides a lot of different sign-up flows that you can use, a lot of stuff like social sign-in if you want to use Facebook or Gmail, but it also just has better tools than what comes with Django out of the box for doing stuff like email login. And so what I did recently was I changed the configuration to introduce that email verification step into the sign-up flow. And I was very keen to remove as much friction as possible, knowing that I'm already putting something in place that is a barrier to some people. But that's just something that is important to me, is to have that email. So what the flow will be like is that the user will sign up for free. There's no credit card up front on this application, and be able to start their trial. And as soon as they create the account, an email will be sent to them. And from that email, there will be a verification link that as soon as they click the verification link, they will immediately be verified, logged in, and dropped into the starting experience for the app, for the onboarding process. That's the flow that I'm going for. And I've been testing at this whole process, changing the configuration, poking at it, making sure that it flows the way I want it to, because there are ways that you can adjust it with Django AllAuth. But I'm down to a point where I need to style that verification email. I need to add some copy that makes it more friendly. I need to make an HTML version of it, because the version that comes with Django AllAuth is only for a text email, which is fine, but I want to offer a slightly richer and better experience if I can. So the point of this topic right now is to create that email, and we're going to figure out which template we need to override and go from there. And then we have to do some work to actually do some local testing. I don't want to be sending, using my actual mail sender, which I've selected SendGrid. I don't want to use them for testing that process. I would much prefer to test it locally if I can. So I have a set of tools that I know how to do that with, and we're going to test it out and tweak configuration of my application to make it possible to do some local email testing and see how that goes. So let's dig in here and find the template that's in question. And what I'm looking for is a mail template that has it's something about verification sent, and I don't know if Django all-auth is putting all the emails in the same area for, yeah, here, okay, that answers that question. Sometimes we just need to explore, right? And I guess if you do have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. This is going to be a process that I'm comfortable with, but maybe you've never done mail setup before, and so that's something we can walk through together. So if you look in this directory, you can see that there are a handful of text-based emails. And I want to say this is something we actually need to confirm as well. We need to find out the convention for the HTML emails. I believe you create the same kind of file name and you change the extension to HTML, but we need to confirm that before we get too far into this and I get myself in trouble. So we've got configuration here. This is not the right area. This is like configuration of Django all-auth itself. So we need to keep digging. What am I looking for? I don't actually know where they've grouped it off the top of my head. Let's check out advanced usage and let's look at sending email. Okay, so it is exactly what I expected it to be. So if there is an HTML version of an email that I want to send, we change the name to include HTML in it, is my read of this. Okay, so let's figure out what the email is. And we're going to need to look at the email itself and realize that there is context that I'm going to have to include. For example, part of the flow, as I said, is it's you sign up at the site, you put in your email address and your password, it sends you an email, and then in the email you click a verification link, which implies that there's a verification link that's going to have to be clicked that actually completes the flow. I imagine that's part of the context, so we need to find that along the way. There is I'm confused about why there is a sign up subject and a sign up message. So let's look at them and see. Well, that's funky. I don't know what was intended. Email confirmation message. Maybe that was the name, and maybe this is the old an old name that they were using. I don't really understand why that is. Let's see if there's any information about different templates. Well, it doesn't look like there's anything here. So we're gonna go work with what seems to be here, and judging by the fact that it says that this is just purely an include of a different file, that tells me, or is a signal to me at least, that this is not the file that we want to use. So let's check out the other one. So it wasn't sign up message. Wasn't it this one? I think it was this one. And I guess you can also see this is probably another signal that this is the old one and this is the new one, because look at the age, like 8 years versus 3 months ago. So somebody has had a rethink on the way that these go, which is totally fine. But we need to check on that. So we've got, I might want to override the text message too and think through that and break apart what's in here to get a good understanding of what's in the content. And perhaps what we need to do is have like a side-by-side of like the real content itself. So we'll fire up the application server, do a sign-up flow just to see an email. My default configuration for local development is to use the console. And actually, I think before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hide my settings from you, because I was testing this the other day, and Unfortunately, where this gets configured, it has all sorts of keys in it and things that I don't want to share. So I'm going to just turn that off for a second. So you should not be seeing my screen. And what I'm going to do, I'll just speak through it, is check my .env file to make sure that I am in fact using the console backend. And I am, so that's all good. So I'll let you see my terminal again. Okay, so I know that we're going to have console stuff, so let's see that in action so we can follow this and have something logical to work from. I'm going to fire up the server. I'm going to open it up into the browser here. And we're going to click the sign up flow here. And I'm going to give it a name. And I've been kind of just numbering these with something silly like email. And these are just test accounts. So it doesn't really matter. And so I think the last one I used was 7. So we're going to try email 8. And you can see I've already done the work to customize some of the flow here. I wanted to give a friendly message to people of like, here's what you need to do next. So I tried to use some imagery, as you can see, with an email being sent. I tried to use a big headline of asking them politely to do this. And then I gave them, here's what's going to happen next in the body copy. So that's what's going on with this page. But from their point of view, this is the end of the line for working with the School Desk app until they go to this email. And you can see what's happening here is because I use the console format system, here's the actual email message that would have been sent had it been connected using SMTP. And so we've got email 8, which is what the user signed up with, which was me. And we've got no reply at the domain name, which is the School Desk app, along with a subject. And here's what we want to get down to is like this section down here. So we're looking for an email that comes from Django all off that says you're receiving this email because user blah 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 has given your email to register an account. So there's already things about this that I don't like that make very little sense for my application. For example, because I'm using an email only sign-in flow, it seems pretty redundant to tell somebody that user with this email is the one who signed up for it when it came from this email. So it's just like pure duplication from my point of view. So it's a clear sign of why I want to override the template to provide what I think will be a better experience. So let's go find this template in the source repository. We can figure out what to override, and we can take a look at the context and see what's there and what we need to change. We'll go back to the setup, and oh man, this is it's interesting. So challenges and the email over here is all in text. So you can see that it's all in a single line, which is kind of crazy. Hey, Death Priest, I really don't appreciate your commentary here. So that's not cool. You know, yeah, I don't know what else to say. Like, that's not appreciated. So goodbye. I try and ask that people keep their conversation civil here, and if you can't, I'm gonna not tolerate it. So I welcome discussion, but just dropping the F-bomb on some comments is not welcome. Anyway, getting back to the email, let's try and see if I think we've identified this. Let's take a look at the base message and see what's in there and see if it's anything that I need to carry forward. I don't know that it is, but we'll check. Okay, so it looks like the base message is trying to put everything in this hello from what the site name is. So I don't think that is that helpful. I would much rather customize that, and I want to have the flexibility to not have every email say hello from. So that doesn't make sense for me to use that. Although, you know, like there's clearly signs that you can override this stuff, but if I'm not going to use this stuff, why bother? So I think that what that leaves us with is we can write an email using this template, email confirmation message. So let's go over to this area where I have these templates. And these are all of the templates that I've already overridden from Django all-auth, but they're for web views. They're for the login and sign up view and the verification sent that you just saw. So we're going to create a new directory, and we'll call it email. And when we're in here, we'll come in and create a new file called email confirmation txt. So let's create that new file, email confirmation message txt. That's important to include there. And that'll give us a new file. So the email will be empty at this point because we haven't put anything in there. And well, I probably need to have some thoughts about what the emails should say. So let's do that in a minute, though. Let's first create the structure that we need, and we'll probably focus our attention on the HTML email. And I can come back and do the text one later. It's of lesser importance, and you all don't need to see me like duplicating the same copy. I think the HTML case is going to be a bit more challenging. So right off the bat, I actually don't know how HTML or mail clients will support different HTML doc types. So I think what we want is to try and specify that it's going to be an HTML5 template, which or type of HTML, which is what this doc type signifier is. So I'm going to assume that that's possible. Well, I guess we'll see it in practice. And to be clear, tonight I'm going to test it locally using a tool that simulates an email client. At some point, I will go through and actually do a real end-to-end test once I deploy it out to the application and make sure that the experience that I'm seeing matches up with my expectation. I'm not going to test against every client, but I'm going to keep my styling so simple that I believe it should work with virtually every client. So that's the direction I'm going to go in. So first thing we want to do is we need to create a head and a body for our email. And the downside of working with email is that a lot of email clients don't support linking out to CSS. It's not true of all of them, but it is a restriction that's pretty commonly known. So what email clients will do is have to put their style directly embedded into this. And so we're actually going to do that this evening of adding a style section. I don't know why my editor indented it like that. That was strange. But we're going to add a style section. So as we are modifying the look and feel of this, that will go inline. And the story has thankfully gotten better over the years, but you can always imagine email clients as being about, 5 or 6 years behind actual browsers. And so that is something that we need to be aware of. So we can't rely on all the latest and greatest features of CSS. And I think in my research, I've sort of found that the general feeling is that people actually appreciate the shorter emails better, or not shorter, sorry, wrong words. The less styled emails, the ones that are super crazy and have tables everywhere and tons of images, are actually turn out to be fairly less engaging to people, or have less retention and response. So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to create an email that has some look of not just being a plain text email. I don't want it to be like that, but I don't want it to be over the top glossy either. So it's trying to find just a happy medium of this looks like somebody thought about this and had some style, and go from there. So I think a lot of it's going to be I don't even know what I necessarily want to put in there. Probably maybe a bit of bold, maybe a bit of styling on the link so it looks pleasant and identifiable as a link without being the really brash standard HTML blue and purple that you get from links. And maybe a couple other things, like the one other one that I thought might be useful is something that I find obnoxious about a client like Gmail is that if you have a paragraph that just goes on for forever, it will extend all the way to the full width of your browser. And I don't know about you, but I like to keep my browser pretty maximized horizontally, which means that I have to sometimes read these really long lines. So I would like to constrain the width to something that's a more readable size. So we'll probably set some kind of max width on the body to engage with the reader a little bit. So let's mock in a couple of paragraphs that will actually be the copy that we want to use for this. The other thing we need to do is we need to find that verification link of what is that actually called. Well, doesn't seem to be. There it is. It's hiding. Google is like obnoxiously. There we go. It was obnoxiously hiding it behind that bar. So it looks like the context, the most important piece that we need to put in here is the activate URL. And I think in the HTML version of this, I will probably want to make that a friendly link of some kind of text. In the text version, because you don't actually have hyperlinks, that will be the just plain HTML hyperlink of HTTPS blah blah blah, and we'll see what that looks like. So we're going to have some paragraph, and the first paragraph is going to be the greeting, and we should probably thank them for joining. That probably seems like a good start. So thanks for signing up with School Desk. And then we should say, well, some of this wasn't so bad. So to confirm, that's not bad language. To confirm your account, please, and then I guess we can have the link maybe. Please follow, if I could type, this link to complete sign up. And then we should tell them like what we hope for them. So we hope that they have a good experience. We want to encourage them that this is going to be good and not just something that they're doing. And what better way to say that just than be very direct. And part of the tone that I want to use for my correspondence with my users is I want them to recognize that this is a project that I'm building, that I'm not some faceless team. I'm really like an individual, and I'm here to like partner with them. So the language that I want to try to use, not everywhere, but try to use in some of the correspondence is I'm going to be possessive about it, or use the possessive. Is that the right word? I don't know. I was never great at grammar naming of the parts, but I'm going to use the singular, to bake into the copy. So I hope you have a great time using School Desk. And I'll play with this and run it by my wife, frankly, and people who are more likely to be my customers, to see if this is actually good or not. But I'm putting in something that we can work with, and I want to see something we can see first. And I think my goal here is to let's write an email. Let's do a test to make sure that it's actually picking up this one. Then let's go and hook up the local email tools to do the verification, or to look at the look and feel. And then we can play with the styling a little bit till we're happy with it, and then declare victory. So let's have a sign off here. I'll say regards, and then we'll put a break, and say Matt from School Desk, because I think that's going to be kind of the sign off that I want to use on a lot of these. So the other thing that we need is, so this needs to be a link. And one thing that I've kind of learned from just along the way of my career is, I could make this hyperlink just for this link. Thanks, Ezraflow, appreciate that. I could make this the hyperlink itself that appears in the email just for the words "this link," and you see that a lot. There might be people who say like, follow the link here, and only the word "here" is the thing that's highlighted as a link. And from a usability perspective, recognizing that people come with various or can come with various disabilities, like they might have movement disabilities, whatever. They might have visual acuity disabilities, whatever. Just try and find ways to make something more approachable. I generally follow the advice to make link targets pretty big and pretty friendly, and that means in this case including more of the words. And so if someone reads the action, follow this link to complete sign up, and the whole thing is a link, then I think, in my opinion, that reads as a pretty obvious way to go. So we need to put the activate URL in here as the chunk of context that's coming from Django all-auth. And I think that sort of covers what goes into this minimal amount of welcome email. I don't know. There's probably a lot of thoughts out here that I need to go do research on of giving people more information. Like, I don't know if I should be using a verification email as a tool to educate new users on, here are all the great features that you're about to experience. There's probably some argument for doing that, but I'm guessing there's a whole camp of people that are like, yeah, make your verification email as short and simple as possible so people will just click the link and get in. And there's probably a lot of argument to favor that, along with a series of emails afterwards, they're usually called like drip campaigns, or not nurturing, that's kind of pre-sign up, but experiences to learn more. So I think that is that's something that I could do in the future, but for now I'm just going to try and keep it simple. And I'm going to ask for feedback very early on for anybody that does sign up of, what was this? How was this experience? What did you like, dislike about it? I don't want to guess too much. Okay, this looks decent enough to me that we can try it out. So we've got our new files here. Let's fire up the server again. I probably don't actually need to stop and start the server again, but it sort of makes me feel good. So now we're going to go to the sign up page because I didn't actually activate that one. And we'll do email 9 at somewhere.com. Again, this doesn't really matter, but I need some kind of identifier. And I sign up and it should bring us back to that page, which it does. And if we come over here, what do we see now? So, oh, that's interesting. I don't know if this is, well, shoot. Here's where things might get interesting. I don't know if this is just because I either named something wrong, or I didn't provide a text version, or frankly, I don't, there are aspects of email that I don't fully grasp all the time. Like, is this a multi-part email that has both an HTML and text as something separate now, and they no longer appear in the console version? I don't really know. So let's do this. Let's take this content and let's go ahead and put it in the text version as well. I mean, what I can notice is the terminal output. Like, there's definitely a difference. So this went from showing something in text to not showing anything at all, which tells me that probably did work because the text email would have appeared here. And I'm going to leave this as all HTML markup, and I fully expect that the email that will be sent in the console if it shows up here at all, we'll just have all this markup in it, which is fine. So let's try it again. Let's go back to the sign up page. And let's do email 10 at somewhere. I don't know why I'm getting picky about the spelling of the junk emails that I'm using. There we go. So what did it send? So, okay. So this console version appears to be showing the text version only. Now that's either because I have not configured something correctly, or because the console just doesn't log the HTML version, both of which I guess are possible. Let's return to this section and make sure I read things right. And templates are named as follows: subject and message. If you want to include an HTML representation, add an HTML template as follows. And all I can see here that's the difference. Well, I don't understand, why do we need subject and message? That's not, I don't get that. Maybe is that like the subject of the email? That doesn't, I don't get it. So we might need to stare at that a little bit longer. But the difference here that I can definitely call out is signup message.html and confirmation message.html. And they tell us, they don't include any HTML templates. All right, so now here's where maybe it's probably just beneficial to go and try and test it out in this other program. So how are we going to do this? We're going to use a program called Mailhog. Mailhog is a little local. It's a program written in Go, to my knowledge, and it's a piece of software that will create a local SMTP server. SMTP, I believe, stands for the Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, and it is the protocol over which email is typically sent if you're using the normal protocols for email. If you're using, like I am with SendGrid, it's actually an API call where they send all the content that follows along with the way emails work, but it's done with using a standard kind of API structure. But SMTP is a very common thing. So Mailhog is what it's going to do when it starts up. And actually, let's go ahead and start it so you can see what that looks like. So we'll create another terminal, and I'm going to fire up Mailhog, just call it. It's something I've already installed from Brew, and it'll show us what it's firing up. So it's telling us the SMTP stuff, the actual mail stuff, should be sent to, in this case, it looks like the broadcast address 0000 and port 1025. And we're going to plug that into the Django settings in a minute. And then it gives us this user interface to check out at 0000 at port 8025. So this is effectively a little local email client that we can connect to. And you can see it's marked as connected and there's nothing in the inbox. And so if we send something to that local SMTP server, it should be displayed right here. So let's try that. So we're going to have to make some tweaks first, and I'm going to have to hack on my settings because my settings are designed to work with Django AnyMail rather than this other scheme. So we're going to have to go to the email backend, and I'm just going to mock some stuff up in here. Or I'm not going to mock it, I'm going to hack it in. So let's go over to the Django documentation, and I don't know the backend that is required for this. I don't remember the name off the top of my head. There are a handful of them, and I think it's the SMTP backend. Yeah. Here's the variables that it cares about. And so we are going to connect to an SMTP backend. So I'll just do this. I'll replace email backend with the, well, that can't be right. It's got to be more than just backends. Django core mail backends. So we'll say Django core mail backends, and then we're going to set the email host, and it should be both of these should be, well, are they both strings? Let's find out. Email host is a string, and email port is an actual number. So our host is going to be 0000, and our email port will be, I think it said 1025, right? So let's plug in both of those. And so now what we've done is, this was previously getting this information, previously getting in the information from the email backend environment variable, which defaults to Django AnyMail, and for my local development is dumping out to the console setting, but we actually want something totally different from both of those, so we're going to use this other setup here. And I'm going to kill off this, and we're going to now fire up the web server again. And again, I don't know that I needed to, but sometimes it just, with settings, I'm never really totally sure, so it's not hard to turn it off and on again. And we'll come in to this over here, and we'll say email 11 at somewhere.com and put in a password of some kind. All right, so we've got our thing was sent. You can see it's not dumping to the console, so it was hooked up to SMTP, and it didn't give us any error here. So I have a feeling if you didn't have an actual SMTP client to send to, there probably would have been some kind of exception. So my guess is if we come over here, we get exactly what we're looking for. So we've got our title here. This is school desk, please confirm your email address. And from the domain name that I expect, and we can check. And so here's the plain text that we wanted. As I said, I just copied it in. I'm a little disturbed where it's only showing the plain text. Like, here's the source. So it's content type text plain and yada, yada, yada. It only has the plain text. So we have gone astray somewhere. Now, either so what could we have done wrong? Let's see. Did I spell everything right? There's thing to check. First thing to check is, did you spell it right? There have been so many times where I haven't. So character for character, CONFIRMATIONMESSAGE.html. That looks right to me. So I think we might need to go and dig through the Django AnyMail or the Django all-auth stuff to figure out where is this HTML version used, and why are we not getting it? It's not cool. Well, that's annoying. It's looking at the languages over here. It only appears to be used in documentations and restructured text and a text file. Yep. Well, it says there's a code up here. All right, so we got to go like source code diving, which I didn't expect that we'd have to do, but such is life. Only send a confirmation email message if an email is actually sent. Okay. All right, we're in accounts utils. Let's go dig at this. So I'm going to go into all auth, and we're going to check in account. And this makes sense. So account, remember, well, maybe you don't remember, you may have never used Django all auth. Django all auth has two kinds of main modes. It has like stuff where more advanced account configuration, which is the section that I'm more interested in. and then this whole other section about social authentication with different kinds of providers like Facebook or Gmail or Twitter or whatever. So they exist in the repository as multiple things. So you see here we've got account and we've got social account. And let's just go dive into the templates again, make sure that we're covering our bases. The other thing that I might want to watch out for as we're looking through this code is, as I mentioned, this email confirmation txt was refactored recently, and perhaps I got the name, I used the wrong name. Like maybe I should have, even though this is the refactored name, perhaps to use the HTML version, you really need the longer name. I don't know, the sign up message one here as the one that includes confirmation message. Not really sure yet. We're going to go find out. So let's go to all auth. Let's go into account and let's start digging through some of this code. The place I want to start is the views. So there is a sign up view that my site is using. I'm delegating a lot of responsibility to sign up. So we want to find sign up. There's a sign up form. So that seems like a reasonable thing to look for. There's a complete sign up utility, which is probably the thing that we really want. Oh, this is if you're coming back. So not quite. Okay, we'll go back. And we'll go down to the sign up form. So here's our sign up view. This is me looking at this code for the first time. So you and I are anybody that is watching you're looking at this with me. So what can we find here? Closable sign up. I don't know what that is. So there's some mix-ins that are in here. Account sign up is the template, which I already knew. Form class. Okay, nothing too surprising yet. Is that the whole view? Well, bummer. I was hoping to find some like clear path of you completed sign up and therefore we're going to go send the email for confirmation, but I don't know if in the flow of Django all auth, if completing sign up means from their point of view, including verification emails, if that's like an intermediate step that gets interjected. Oh, here we go. So complete sign up passes in email verification. So I guess this is probably the right place to go, but weren't we just here? So user signed up. There's a signal. Ah, man. So there's probably some signal that is triggering an email, because I'm pretty sure we're not performing login yet. Let's go here. We'll check it out, and then we'll look at the user signed up signal, or any receiver to the user signed up signal. Perform login takes sign up, and sign up indicates whether or not sending the email is essential during sign up, or if it can be skipped. Okay, so I think we're in the right place. We're going to look for this sign up Boolean. Where are you, sign up Boolean? Okay. Oh. And again, y'all, as I'm talking through stuff, like sometimes you might be like staring at the code and it's like, it's right there, Matt. You're totally missing it. But when you are talking through your changes, it sometimes isn't always super clear. But as I'm looking at it more, it seems that pretty clear here. So send email confirmation mandatory is the path that I'm on. So this is what we need to check. And the response, I'm sure that this adapter respond email verification sent is that final page that I showed. So the email that we want to send is somewhere in here. Send email confirmation. And email, well, so we've got email confirmation. So we definitely are using the HMAC stuff. That's for in the activate URL, it's doing some HMAC, which I don't actually know a ton about, but it tries to generate a unique URL to do the confirmation. And so it's telling us that it's going to go the send path, this route. And so we're going to call on the email address, we're going to call send confirmation with sign up equal to sign up. So we're getting closer. There's a lot of layers here. But we might not need to go there. I'm going to continue reading the method first because here we are. Oh. Aha. Okay. I think I see what it did. No, maybe not. I don't know. This is the email confirmation sent. This is the flash message. This is in a different area. This is messages. Okay, I was looking in the wrong spot. All right, let's keep going. So we're not doing any of that. It's before this. It must be in here. Send the confirmation. Good grief, y'all. So there's an email confirmation HMAC that has a send method. And it calls, wow, how many levels are there? It calls this send confirmation email, which is in the adapter. All right, we're getting close. Okay, I think that here it is. We sent the confirmation, we customized the confirmation message. That was not the right one. We're doing on sign up, so we want not email confirmation message, we want email confirmation sign up, I think. I think that's the way to interpret this. I don't understand maybe the distinction between the two, but I'm not going to judge it or question it that much. That was way more levels of indirection than I anticipated, but I'm glad we traced it through. So we're going to come back in here. We're going to go back into all auth, go back into templates and back into account email. And I'm going to rename the file to message, I think. So maybe what they were doing here is just saying, like, for the standard case, we don't really customize it. We just use the email confirmation message, and it might have a couple of different uses. Oh, you know what it probably is? I bet if you maybe come back a second time and you're not doing sign up, but you try and do a login from that, I bet it tries to resend the confirmation message. That's my guess. I really don't know what this subject is. Oh, okay. It literally is the subject of the email. So we can override that too if we want. I'm okay with that. Please confirm your email address, I think is what it said. And that's fine with me. Please confirm your email address. Okay. No problem. All right. I'm getting there. Hopefully we're getting there together. So let's rename this to the message body that we want to send. And so I'll use my, I can edit this in Vim. And so that was confirmation sign up message. And we will rename this one too. Okay. So hopefully now we're getting the right emails that we want. Again, I don't know, that probably works just fine to leave them like that, but just for the sake of clean slate, let's do it from fresh start on the web server. We're going to go here and we're going to come back to sign up, and I'm going to do email 12 at somewhere.com. All right, and still nothing there, but coming over here, now we come to our inbox, and here's the new one. Hey, now we're cooking. So clearly it caught our proper template name this time, and this is still junk because it's just markup. And here's what I was trying to show is, like, because they're multi-part emails, there's actually like a couple of different things in here, and the mail protocol just gets a little bit more complicated when you're trying to send both an HTML and a plain text email. And this is what we have. And I'm trying to figure out what I want to change to this, because it's so short that, I was talking about adding some styling to make it wrap. That's not important because it can all fit on one line. Maybe we want to change the link style, but I mean, is it worth it? I don't know. It kind of feels good enough. I'm not saying it's amazing, but I think there's probably a future where I put the logo in as part of the footer or something in this, or I have more requirements about what I have to indicate in the email. Although I don't know if you all know, but with sending email with a SaaS, there's two different kinds of email that from a legal perspective. And I'm not a lawyer, so take what I say with a grain of salt, a lot of salt. But there are what are considered like transactional emails, and then there are considered what's the other one called? Bulk or mass transactional email versus marketing email. So transactional emails are the ones that are part of the transaction of working with a product. So if you are signing up for a site, and as part of that flow and part of that agreement, I'm telling you, you may not use this service until you complete this verification process. That is a transaction between me as the producer of a site and you as the user of the site. And the rules around transactional emails are much more forgiving, I guess I'll say. Like, there's not a requirement to have, for example, like unsubscribe links, because it's something that the person is opting into as this is a thing that you're doing in order to agree to use the service. So in order for us to have that relationships, you can't opt out of these. These are things that are important for flow. Whereas your standard marketing email, if you're a part of a newsletter or anything like that, they by law have to, or at least law in the United States here, I can only speak for the US, as part of the Can Spam Act here in the US, like you have to include certain information about the address of your business and a way to unsubscribe and those kind of things. So I'm not dealing with marketing emails right now, so that's not what I'm going for, and I don't have to include that for part of a sign up. So this I can leave, to my knowledge, leave very minimal and be safe without getting into legal hot water. Again, I don't know what the laws in your country say, so if you need, you should probably check on that. But that is my understanding in this regard. So I think what we've shown here is that we can get an email sent, and it goes through Mailhog, and it looks pretty good. It's a bit like, I don't know what's going on with my brain, but like visual shape wise, it feels like it's missing the start. Like it kind of just jumps into thanks for signing up, which is true, but I as silly as it might seem, I desire to put some kind of hello or welcome. And maybe this is just me being weird, but I think it's going to add a bit of visual symmetry between the top and the bottom and give it a bit of space. The other thing I might want to consider is, do I want to space it out anymore? No, I feel like that's okay. So the user can, in their own, they can resize their client, and I don't want to mess with that too much. So I don't want to overstyle and over-constrain the email. And by doing that, it has a couple of advantages. Like I do give away some of the look and feel of my site, but I kind of guarantee maximum compatibility. Like if you're just some basic plain HTML, every email client can handle that. So I'd be pretty confident that none of this would get lost. Okay, so considering that's all this is, and we have this, let's do this. Let's take this stuff and let's go into the text. And I know I said I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to forget otherwise. So we're just going to, should have just kept it in here. We're just going to clean this up real quick, and y'all can see what this is going to look like. So with text emails, you have to be even more careful because white space matters. It is part of it. Thankfully, as I said, this is not a super complicated email, so there's not a lot going in here. But all of these tags, they all need to go. So we'll get rid of all that stuff and clean it out so that it looks like a just plain text version of the same thing. And we have to manually space everything. And here's the other thing that has, because this is not HTML, we need to be very careful with the URLs that we put in here, that they work. And here's an example of how I'm going to change this. So I'm going to change it from, it was a link that had a very friendly target, but now I'm going to kind of flip it around and put the URL, so the activate URL, in here like that. And so that gives us the same content as our HTML version, but is adapted to work with text only. And there are plenty of people out there that they really like mail clients that only use text. They are concerned about privacy with tracking pixels and don't want to load HTML. There's all sorts of very security conscious people out there that are particular about that sort of stuff. So it pays to make your emails to address both types of audience. So let's come back in here one last time, and that was email 12. Let's do lucky 13 here and see if we can finish off this feature. So we're going to send that, and hopefully it will go over on to Mailhog. Come back, check it out. And so here's we've now got the hello in there, and to me that just, it seems a little friendlier. It's a silly thing, I know, but it seems a little friendlier to me. So it kind of greets them and then thanks them and tells them what to do, and then wishes them well. So all that feels good. Here we are in the plain text version. which is the same thing. And now it's clear that there's the confirmation email. And this is why I don't want to like show the confirmation email, because this is pretty ugly. As you can see, it's quite long and doesn't fit well. But people that desire text-only emails, they would rather see the plain text version of an email to know what they're about to click on, which is fine. So that's my version of verification email. And so let's take a look. Hopefully you learned a little bit about Mailhog. I thought we were going to do a little bit more styling than that, but we didn't. That's okay. But we did cover how to use the email backend and how to set that up. And Mailhog is really good at that. It looks like I also have this other thing in this change that I had made offline, so don't worry about that part. I'm going to commit it anyway, but I'm not going to take the time to explain what that's all about. So I'm going to do, what am I going to do? Should I just delete this? Okay. How about, should we make, I'm wondering if I should make this a little bit more configurable for the future. Like if I wanted to test with Mailhog. That sounds kind of nice actually, because here's what I don't want to do. I don't want to have to add this every time I come in here and have to do an email. This is not the last email I will ever work on for SchoolDesk. And if my method of testing emails is to use Mailhog, which is a great little tool, then I should make that easy to do. So let's do a little bit more work to make Mailhog something configurable here, but default to off. And that would be great. So I want to come up here and we'll add a new setting. And I'm going to call it email testing. And I will say, like, normally you don't want like a lot of test kind of settings in here. They do tend to pollute code, but I think it's merited. So we're going to have email testing be false here. And the way that I'm going to do this, like if I ever wanted to do email testing in the future, I could say set it on the command line of email testing equal true, and then run the make command. And that would basically just toggle. Well, we'll do that in a second. So we've got this email testing, and we're giving it a default value, so Django environment is not going to complain if it's missing. And we can come down to the email section and say if end of email testing, like that, and then just indent this stuff. And that way we will never run this in production, because I'm never going to turn that on in production. And I'm not even going to have it on most of the time in development mode, but I'll be able to opt into it if I have a scenario where I know that I want to test the look and feel of that. And actually I'll leave myself a comment, or any future reader. Enable this to test with Mailhog for local email testing. And clearly I make some assumptions here about what that's going to look like. This is only really designed for Mailhog. I probably could call that out, but I don't feel like it's worth it. Okay, so now we've got this. I want to do this test one last time to make sure that the email testing thing is working before committing this. So let's do email testing equal to true, and we'll start the server. And I'm going to come back over to my inbox here, and we've never stopped Mailhog, so it's still waiting for messages. We're going to sign up, and we're going to do email 14 at somewhere.com with a password. And hopefully it didn't write out to the console, but actually went over to Mailhog. That's what we're hoping to see. And here it is, email 14. Okay, so that's cool. That means that now I have a very quick and easy mode to get into a working scenario for doing email testing. So we've got the change to the settings file. We've got that other change to the sign up thing that I said I wasn't really going to talk about. And then we've got our two very simple templates. And I'm going to leave the head with the empty style in here for now, because I definitely anticipate some future where I'm going to want more in here. The reality is I'll probably refactor that to have like a base email style, because I'll probably want some kind of footer that has like contact us or other ways like to get in touch that are going to be needed for every page. And then there'll be, some main content section so that each HTML email will only need to focus on the things that it's trying to add and say. But I don't need to do that today because I don't have to worry about those emails. Although, as I say that, I think it's one thing that SaaS apps need very quickly is password reset functionality. And I know that sounds silly. Like, why is it so needed so early? But it comes into play all the time. I'll give you a silly example. So in this process of like setting up this email signing up stuff, I created a SendGrid account. And the moment I created my SendGrid account, I created it with the email address that I wanted to and submitted a password, and SendGrid gave me this error message that said, "We can't create your account this time, sorry, yada yada." So I did what any developer would probably do. I hit refresh and I tried again. And as I tried again, same email address that I was just told couldn't be created at this time, and different password, of course, because I use LastPass to generate new passwords. And this time I got an error message that says that a user with this email account already exists. And it's like, well, crap, that's my email account, so how do I go get it back? So to sign in for SendGrid for the very first time, I had to go through the password reset flow in order to actually even get into the site. I don't want that to be the normal experience for someone on SchoolDesk, but people use password reset functionality in interesting ways, and password resets are another one of the things that are provided by Django All-Auth that I'm going to have to override at some point. So I'll get to those templates, just not today. Okay, so let's commit this stuff, shall we? We're going to say style the sign up email template, and this fixes number. Hey Stupak, welcome back. It's going great. How are you doing? This fixes number 275. So for context, Stupak, tonight I'm working on issues related to the launching of my application. So I'll bring up the site in just a minute. So I bought a domain name recently, and I picked the domain name. And once I did that, and once I committed to turning that on, I had to switch into the Heroku paid tier in order to get TLS certificates so that I could actually be HTTPS on this domain name, which I've also discovered in the process of anytime you see one of these new .app domain names, they are required to be over HTTPS. So that means I was forcing myself into paying for Heroku, but that's okay. I was planning to do it anyway. But as soon as I did this, I realized there's so much that I still have left to do of email signups. Yeah, did I have to pay? No, I'm sorry. Good. Thank you for calling that out. I'm speaking too quickly. Heroku. I don't know which one of those is right. Heroku is owned by Salesforce, but they are where my site is hosted. And here's my apps that are on Heroku. And no, they actually don't. So the downside, Heroku is both awesome and not so awesome at the same time. So they're I guess they're called a platform as a service, which means that they take a lot of the deployment headache out of the equation. Like all I do to deploy is git push to a Heroku certain Heroku clone, and yeah, so they're pretty nice. But the downside of Heroku is that they can really get you on little things, and so one of those little things is they will do Let's Encrypt certificates. That's what they're doing under the covers. But they won't do that certificate management unless you move from their free tier to their hobby tier. I mean, I did have, in fairness, I had free certs, but it was at a Heroku specific domain. In fact, the name of it was wherever we were just a second ago. Oh, it's right here. Sleepy Caverns. So my wife and I were affectionately calling this site Sleepy Caverns as its kind of code name, because that's the name they gave it to us, and it sounded kind of cute. So that was over HTTPS, but if I wanted to get the real thing on that, then I had to switch. So I've got a domain name, and that leads to, okay, now I can comfortably send emails that look like they come from the domain, and I can all sorts of things start to, in my opinion, fall into place. So I started this milestone for everything that I think is going to be necessary before I launch it. And if you have done SaaS work, the kind of recommended advice out there is launch. I can't say before you're ready, but they say you should be comfortable being embarrassed by the first version of your product. So I know that what I'm going to launch with doesn't have everything that I'd ever want it to be in there, but I'd rather launch it and then start sharing it with people and get some feedback. So that's where I'm standing. So what can we say is next to do? There's a bunch of stuff in here. And I've already gone for, yeah, I could, so that's an interesting suggestion, putting it on Product Hunt. I don't know necessarily, I'm not a Product Hunt guy myself, so I don't necessarily know the clientele, but it's something similar that I feel like with Hacker News culture and stuff is I started listening to this web podcast, and it's a podcast from what's the guy's name? Well, the site is Indie Hackers, and I'm drawing a blank on the guy who runs it. It'll come back to me at some point. But he has this interesting podcast where he interviews a bunch of people, and they're all in this hacker startup space, right? But what I found, and I've gone all the way back to like episode 1, so I'm listening to it from the beginning. So maybe he's changed the format over the years, but at least in this introductory stuff, it's very much like tools targeted very specifically at developers, and it's kind of a inward-looking focus. Like I'm a developer. I have no problem with people making tools for me, but I feel like these kind of sites out here, they tend to focus on tools made for developers or cool developer tool. Like that's what gets traction on Hacker News. And with me making like a homeschool app, like I just don't think that the people that I'm going after are going to be there. I could be totally wrong on that, but that's my thought. Oh, hey, Coatlim. I didn't actually see your comment up there. Thanks for joining in. Happy New Year to you. Glad you're on. So anyway, I guess all I'm saying is I'm trying to get to launch, trying to get to a point where if I do start to share links to my application, I don't want to link to the randomly generated Heroku name of Sleepy Caverns as much as I might think of it fondly. That's not going to resonate with random homeschool families on the internet. So I got the domain, and I want to do like a punch list of these are the things that I want to have done before launching. And a lot of them are just enough. They're not, if you look at this list closely, very little of this, or maybe none of this, is about functionality anymore. It's all about, putting out pricing information so people understand how much it costs. Yeah, I love Startups for the Rest of Us. Startups for the Rest of Us has probably how I got into most of this stuff. I think Rob is a really sharp guy he's now the solo speaker on that podcast, but I think he offers a lot of wisdom and he's pretty humble about it. So I'm going to go through this, and once this list is done, then I'm going to switch to a mode where afraid is not the right word, but I'm not hesitant to share the link anymore, because I'll be comfortable enough that the product is like something you could sign up for and reasonably start using. So that's my goal here. What is this one for? Oh, okay, Django level stuff. So what can we do with the rest of our time? So I've already been going for like almost an hour and 20 minutes. I don't want to run crazy long tonight, but we can probably add a little bit more. Let's check on this one. Here's an interesting problem that I experienced, is that, so I have this domain and it's theschooldesk.app if you want to check it out. But what I found is, yeah, still the same problem. So it's not forwarding to the www. And the reason I'm not using, sometimes this is called a naked domain when you don't have any subdomain. Sometimes you can call it the top level domain. I don't really care what you call it. But my Heroku in combination with my DNS provider, Hover, doesn't really like that setup. So my actual application lives at www.theschooldesk.app. But the downside that I've experienced so far, as you just saw, is, yeah, it does stink. I would much rather have it be the short version. Is that it's not doing top level redirection. And it's strange because in my Hover settings, there's a place that you can set forwarding. And I definitely set forwarding to theschooldesk.app to https://www.theschooldesk.app. Right, and my hope is that, like, ultimately, yeah, I don't typically type it out either, and I think it's fine. Like, my personal site, you can visit right now. This is what's strange to me. I have, excuse me, sorry y'all. I have forwarding set up for this domain. My actual website is www.mattlehman.com. But you can get to mattlehman.com and it will just automatically forward to www. So I don't know if it has something to do with TLS certs, because it's a .app, and because Heroku owns the TLS certs, and because .app domains have to be TLS, that that's not working. So I probably need to, at this point, because it's still not working, write to the Heroku support team and see if they can help me out. If not, yeah, your point about changing registrars, like as sucky as that would be, maybe what's in the cards. Because I know that there are plenty of other registrars that do allow the right kinds of special DNS records. How do I describe them? There are certain DNS records that are like non-standard. Yeah, like what's it called? Alias? I don't remember. There's a couple of names for these schemes, for these sites that want to use the naked domain as their main site, and so I might have to explore that, or at the very least find a redirection tool. I did find, as I was searching around, there seems to be like a free service that you can sign up for a single domain that its sole job is to take your naked domain and redirect it to the one place you want to go. And maybe just to keep and it can do that for free for one domain. And maybe since it's a simple scenario that I've got where I only have a single product there, and changing DNS and moving DNS records around would be annoying at this point, that might be worth checking out. So yeah, so perhaps, and I don't know, unfortunately I don't know how much I can show you of my hover configuration without like revealing the keys to the kingdom kind of thing. That's one of these sad things with like all the CNAME records and stuff, is that send grids and stuff. Yeah, I'm not going to risk it. These companies like put identifiers that are supposed to be kind of unique and hidden in those kind of records. So I wish I could show you all more of that. Maybe I need to set up a side project where I don't even know if I could set up a side project where I don't care, because there's always that scenario where somebody could just like hack into it. Right. So if I can do that, I will try to do it. I don't know how well it's going to work, but I'm going to make the attempt. I think I looked at it, and the Heroku docs say like you must use a CNAME record if that's what they have, and don't have these other special alias records or whatever they're called. And the challenge is with the CNAME is that you have to provide it a subdomain value. You can't give it a naked one, which is the trouble. Okay, so unfortunately, I wanted to check that issue, but I don't think we can really do anything about it tonight. So what else can we look at? How much of this would be just painful? Maybe we can do the pricing section stuff, because I have pricing section. Let's actually kill the mail server. We don't need that anymore. On my main page, which is what? Index? Yep. On this main page here, this is the landing page that I imported from somebody else. So I, to all credit, I tweaked this heavily, but I did not design a bunch of this page. There's some cool effects that are, maybe I could have come up with them, but they're kind of beyond my skills, of these little like waves and things like that, that are a little bit out of my reach. So I took this design and tweaked it, and I commented out sections I wasn't ready for. And one of those sections was the pricing section, because I didn't have anything yet. And so part of what I'm going to be doing with this is enabling this pricing section and getting rid of what I have at the bottom here, where it's like School Desk is currently in private beta. I want to take that out, because I want to give people the chance to sign up for it on their own. Like if someone happens to come to the site and finds that it has merit and they want to try it out, who am I to stop them from wanting to sign up for the service? So I think the next step is to remove this block and uncomment out the pricing, and then set the pricing. So let's try that. I don't know how far I'll get with this, because I don't even remember what it looks like. It's close, but it's in like euros, and that's not going to be hard to change. But yeah, I could still try to collect email addresses if I wanted to. So let's do this. Let's take all of the section that I clearly have commented out and uncomment it. Now I've got that private beta stuff, and this is going to throw me. We actually want to make sure that we're on localhost and not looking at the real thing, because that was going to lend to a bunch of confusion. So we'll come over here and let this load up, and come down to pricing. Yeah. So this is certainly not a bad setup, but there are definitely things about this that I want to change. I have not really tested my page load time, so I've done it a little bit, but I have not run it through like speed test. Yeah, I could. That's an optimization that I'll definitely get to a little later. And the reason I hadn't done that is because when I was on the free tier, the free tier of Heroku kind of puts your app to sleep if it's been asleep for a while. So if any visitor who hasn't been there would have had like a 15-second wait, and that only visitor currently was my wife, and she was aware of that constraint. So I'm gonna have to change. I've already changed that to be on the hobby tier. So on the actual site, it is it's pretty snappy at this point. So I'm going to kind of get to that at some point. Maybe there's some obvious optimizations that I'm missing, but I think I generally got the big things. So that seems okay for now. Let's get back to where we were. We're done looking at settings and stuff. Oh, sweet. 99 out of 10. That's even better. 10 times better than the average website. Yeah, I'm just joking with you. Cool. Good to hear that I've got it fairly optimized. So let's talk about what I want to do for pricing. And so there's a lot of theory into pricing models, and I also recognize my audience. And so if you all are coming from, I'm definitely not British. If you all don't know the homeschooling world, they're a pretty price sensitive group. Some of them are very large families. Something about them just like they're just a cost conscious group, that's fine. That's the way they are. So I knew that taking on this whole project, and which means I don't have a lot of room probably to experiment with stuff. And I've been looking around at what else is in the industry, because there's a lot of competitors in this space, and I've kind of settled on at least an initial thought of 2 different kinds of plans. So I'm thinking of having a monthly plan and an annual plan. There's not going to be different tiers of accounts. It's going to be the same service no matter what you sign up for. It's just you're either paying for monthly or you're paying for annual. And in my thinking, I had it so that, like a lot of sites where you have annual, I'm going to go for 12 months just because they're homeschoolers, so they might be planning. And actually what I've read is a lot of them, or my house included, we do school year round. So there's all sorts of various kind of schedules that happen out there. And just to simplify, like, can you imagine like telling people, yeah, it's an annual plan, but annual means 9 months. I mean, I could try, but I don't think it would go over well. So I'm going to go, and it would make the math harder. So I'm going to go with a cheaper annual plan, because that's the benefit of annual plans, is like you offer people a discount for the fact that they're not going to churn over the month to month. Yeah. Well stated. So my thought for annual is to come in at, again, this is low price points, because this is, and low is relative. I recognize if you're in a different country, this might seem high, but for the United States, a low price point of an annual plan of like $50. And that comes down to, less than $5 a month, which I think is extremely reasonable. And I'm sure I will even be debated on that. And then for the monthly side, I was thinking of $5 a month. So that would be $60 per year, because I can do math. So those are the 2 rates that I want to put in there. And so what you can see here, this version has a free, basic, and pro. I'm at this point, I'm not going to do per student pricing. I'm going to try and keep it simple. There may come a time where I find that a family that has like 10 students turns out to be way more work, support, performance work, whatever, than others. But I want this first version of pricing to be as stupid simple as possible. Maybe. And if I find that it is more load or it is more work, maybe there's an argument to be said that there's a base number of students that you get at that tier, and then if you're above 3 in your family, 3 kids in your family, then $1 per student per month or something like that. So that might be a future, but I'm not ready to do price experimentation yet. So I'm going to take this model here that's showing price. I'm going to chop off pro, and so we're going to have two that are going to go side to side, and the bigger one I think I'm going to make annual because I want to highlight that this is a better value. And from my point of view, it's from what I've read about SaaS economies and like dealing with credit card payments that don't go through and stuff like that. If you can minimize the number of charges that you're making, that tends to work out better. So the more people that I could sign up for annual, that makes sense anyway. And on top of all that, just thinking logically about what this service is about, it's about a school year. So I can see some cheapskate being like, I'm going to do monthly and then cancel my account for 3 months during the summer to try and save $15. And if somebody wants to do that, okay, I'm not going to fight them about that. But I want to set up folks for success if they are going to sign up for the year and just like, you're buying a whole year of automated scheduling for your stuff and it's $50 and you save some money. So that's the thinking behind the two plans is, so chop off Pro, change free and basic to monthly and annual, highlight the cost. The annual one will need to highlight the savings benefit that would come, I think, with that. And I think that would be worth showing them. What are you actually getting when you do annual? I mean, most of them can do the math, but why not spell it out when I have the opportunity? And yeah, keep this matrix pretty simple. I don't actually know how this is going to look. It looks like this is already designed to be center aligned, so I don't even know what the original author intended. This looks okay right now, but as soon as you have more text, I think it's going to be a bit out there. Hey, the Extreme 2, I don't have a bot, so I'll just tell you, my project is a homeschool application to help my family do homeschool planning, to set schedules and stuff. Today I'm not working on any of the actual homeschool part of the project. I'm looking at the pricing page of my landing page as I'm gearing up to launch. So that's what's going on around here. I should really sign up for a bot someday, but I got nothing. So let's go in here and tweak what's here. So we've got the one that we said is the big one, that's the middle. I don't even know, this might not even balance well once I delete this. We're gonna find out. So we've changed that. Yeah, Tailwind, that's right. I'm a big fan. And actually, let's call it out. So I took this landing page, Tailwind landing page. That's what I searched for, and I think it was this one. Yeah, here it is. So somebody put together. I don't know what Chakra is, so no, I'm not using Chakra. So I was looking at templates that were built with Tailwind specifically because I already used Tailwind and I just wanted a light, easy integration with my existing toolset. And I found this landing page right here. This should look pretty familiar. It's got a lot of the same stuff. I clearly changed the color scheme to be, well, I have Flux on, so it looks kind of pink to me, but let's see, what color is it in reality? Oh, it is pink. Okay, pink to yellow. Oh man, it's so bright now. But yeah, changed it to my blue color scheme, but otherwise it's largely a lot of the same markup. So let's come on back over to the style here. And well, I only code in white Vim because I have Flux like geared up. So what might be white to you is like amber, like dark gold for me when I'm staring at this time of day, which is why I'm with you. I get it. And I get why people like are kind of complain about my white background. I apologize. Maybe I should get a dark background for Twitch streams, but I'm not there today. Yeah, I should take a screenshot and share it somewhere, and so you can see how dark it really is. Like it's pretty dark. Okay, so cool. It did balance out the way I wanted it. Put it in center. I might, like, sizing wise, as I'm staring at this now, the sizing seems like they should be, since there's only two of them at this point, they should be equal width. It made sense when there were three that the secondary one were smaller because there were two secondary ones. But in looking at this now, I don't know if you all agree, but it looks kind of awkward to me of having this one be narrower and then this one be wider. So I'm going to see what's controlling that. It's probably some max width setting somewhere, and we'll fix it up. Yeah, so I think it already is if you look carefully, and maybe it's not noticeable enough. So I kind of want them to be the same size, but the basic has this color gradient stripe. Yeah, I think you're right. I think there needs to be some more pizzazz in here, like maybe an inversion of colors that put this in, the blue with like some white text, and then maybe at the bottom the same thing to kind of cap it. We could play with that for sure. Yeah, I agree. So let's first get the size right, and then we'll come back to that kind of idea. Where is the size? We've got the column. So there's width of 5/6 and width of, here it is. So they're the same size when you get down to the mobile sizing of 5/6, and then you get down to this, it says 1/4, and so that should change that. Let's try it again, see if they still fit. And I just refreshed the chat by accident. That's okay. It looks like Twitch finally gets smart enough to, when you refresh that window, it comes back with the text. It used to be I would refresh that window by accident, so like y'all can't really see it, but the way I'm chatting with you is I hide it underneath the UI here. So that I see a slightly different view of the chat than you do. But it used to just blow all that text away and I lose all the context of the conversation. So thankfully doesn't seem to be the case anymore. Okay, so now they're the same size. Okay, I'm also noticing, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little like super light gray oddball line here. I don't know what that's all about. Maybe that wasn't there a second ago when I had it smaller and this was pushed down farther. I'm not really sure. I'm probably going to be playing a bunch with these thing columns anyway. I don't even know what I want to put in there to date. Right. Yeah, and I think it's intentionally off because this one is notched down a little, and so I think they took. I mean, if I look at it, they seem about the same width. You might be right. Let's do that. Let's try working from the same baseline, and I'll leave the other one just for a moment to see if I want to keep it around later. But I think I'm kind of in agreement with you. My fear is, though, like there's probably, well, let's see. All right, it's not so bad. So we've got some inner, what's going on there? Some inner inset shadow? What is that? Or oh, you know what it might be? I think both boxes have a bit of a drop shadow around them. Did the other one not have a drop shadow? Let's look. Oh, if it did, it was a smaller drop shadow. Okay, something to keep in mind. Okay, is that it? Yep. So we bring it back to here. And step one, let's change the text. We want monthly first, and then annual. So one thing that I did like about the other one is that it was a bit diminutive. By being smaller, I think it will help catch your eye towards the bigger one. Although that may not be a big thing once we change the color to the colors we were talking about, but it's something that I should pay attention to. So let's start by messing with, and I know this is bad practice, but I'm just going to copy some of these blocks around just so I have something to kind of reset to. I know I've got git, but it's just sometimes it's easier than messing with git commands. So leave that commented out, and in case we need to just return back to where we were. So the other thing we want to change right off the bat, let's go ahead and let's make it look like I want it to look in terms of price, so that we have a decent enough baseline. I know we're ignoring the thing copy in the middle, but I'd rather include something that's more realistic. So let's say, and I'm not going to do the $49.99 stuff. I don't want to play those games. I'll just give people straight prices. So $50. Do I even need do I need to repeat year? Probably, because people are gonna, I don't know, people are weird sometimes or misread things, if I'm being generous. Oh, okay, he's got a style on here. Okay, so I got rid of that by accident. So let's return that. Let's keep the text base. Per year. And per month. And we'll do $5. All right, how's it gonna look? Looks, price-wise, it looks nice and crisp and clean. Great. All right, what else can we do? We can fiddle with the background fill of the top behind annual. So we've got annual, looks like, well, let's put it in here. I don't know if it's going to come out right, but we'll do BG, I think it's blue 700 is the one that I use as like my color on the site. Yep. And then text white so that we can actually read what's there. There was another interesting effect there. The gradient is now like kind of destroyed by that. So what if we lighten it up? Will that help? I don't know if that's strange or not. Now we're just sort of getting down to look and feel of stuff, but that's good to experiment. And then let's try and let's do the same sort of inversion on this entire bottom panel with the same blue 600 and text color change. And then the trouble is we also have to flip the button as well, which is not a big deal, but we can do that. So we'll do, I think it's this whole box. Is that right? The worst we can do is be wrong and have to fix it. All right, it's the whole box. Good. And let's change it to BG, nope, text white to fix the text color. And then the button needs to be changed from BG blue to BG white with a I'm going to try Text Blue 700. I think it's going to be, might be too light. I need to turn off flux again. I'm going to burn my retinas for you all. That's an interesting look to it, of kind of this like checkerboard-ish thing. I don't want to make these blue over here. I don't know. Oh, I guess I did. So I'm already noticing there's a incorrect. So I chose 700 on the bottom, and I chose 600 on the top, and that's not right. So let's try and at least make them consistent. Problem with that is that 600 is just, that's not my color for my app. I use 700, like all of these little elements are the same color. I think it's, well, I have 2B0, CB6. I've seen it so many times. Hey, Lumjacker, welcome. I'm working on styling my pricing section on my homeschool service. I'm getting closer to bringing it to launch, and we're staring at this pricing section in the style. So that's what's going on here, in case you're curious. All right, what if my product is about it's a homeschool scheduling app for homeschool families, and we use it with my family, and I'm trying to make it available to others. So that's what we're doing. All right, I'm gonna put the 700 back because I'm not liking the 600. It's just not. I'm just not digging it. But there's that gradient that's killing me. What can we do about that? The gradient. What if we just take it out? What's that gonna do? The gradient is a nice little bit of flair on the design. Yeah. Caxitaz, yeah, there definitely are. I don't remember what kind of tool. Like, I'll give you an example. I know for a fact that when I'm working on my Hugo blog, so my regular website, that as it's running and I'm making changes and it detects the changes, that it will automatically refresh the page. I don't know how that works off the top of my head, but I know that's out there. For me, I don't find that I need it often enough. I don't mind hitting a Command R every once in a while to check something out, but I can understand how that'd be frustrating for people. So I really do like the gradient, and I do like it. Here's maybe where I'm landing. Check. Let's return this to the way it was a moment ago. And I think what I do like about this is it gives a nicer contrast. So I think where I'm kind of feeling like this is making sense is perhaps to keep the dark blue on the button for the page that we want them to click, and then still have this smaller grayed out kind of version. And I can continue to work with this, but I'm thinking that this boundary issue, since I like this gradient thing, the boundary issue of like having two gradients next to each other it's just problematic. And I could get probably super fancy and have one big long gradient across both of them, but then I'd be afraid that, not only would that be a pain, it would be doable, but it'd be a pain. to manage them separately because they'll be all mixed together in one big flex box. But then you might not have the visual distinctiveness that you want. You might not actually see them as two separate things. The gradient actually, by spanning all the way across, might actually pull them together in a way that messes with your head. So I think what I'm tempted to do for now is to leave it. Well, I need to come back and fix the 0 here. Let's change it back to 5. But I'm tempted to leave it this way for now. And I just realized that I did / per month. Oops. Per. Get rid of that. All right. Like this is feeling okay to me now. Where maybe it's not working so well is, do these have the same baseline? And I don't know that they do. So where I may want to play with this is to make sure that by the time that the cost and the price buttons are there, like I think they're, I don't know, is that lined up and I just can't see? Let's see if inspection can highlight this better. Come on, show the button. Well, that's not, I was hoping that the dotted lines would actually do with the padding area, the top line there. Can I get this another way? There it is. Okay. All right, cool. So the top lines are still lined up. That's good. And let's check out the baselines of the prices. So the baseline, they're a little off from each other. Again, I maybe this doesn't make sense to fret about it until I have these things filled in, because it might be immaterial. Like it might all change. Oh, I definitely can't say free. That's not good. Monthly. But yeah, I think that's probably about as far as I want to take it right now. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I know that if you're doing like rich single page applications, like JavaScript has a lot of tools that try and keep you in that flow of pushing little changes to your browser. And I think maybe a lot of why that's done is, you know, some applications, especially very rich single page applications, have a lot of state that they have to keep track of. And I can imagine a scenario where you're working on designing this little component in your single page app, and you've done all the work to get your local development environment to that page in the right flow, maybe way down deep into your application structure, and you don't want to have to redo that flow every time you want to make a little CSS tweak. So that makes total sense. For me, with server-side rendered pages where I'm like a page away at most from what I want to do, it's less useful for me. So I'm not trying to shoot you down, of course. That's just my perspective on why I've never pursued it. It would be cool if it was something super easy to plug in, but I've yet to find that thing. All right, y'all. I think this is probably where I'm looking at the time and I'm thinking about my brain, and I know I'm starting to run out of steam. So I think I'm going to call it here for the night. I also need to have a good long think that is not something that works well over streaming about what to actually put in these spots to highlight. I do think it makes sense to have some kind of call out features, but I don't know what goes there yet. So but at least I've got some basic pricing thing there that I can fill in, and then we'll be able to commit shortly. Where are we going after this? So I don't actually know how much I'll be getting done between this and the next stream. I'm kind of invested in working on some of this, so some portion of this might be done. Hey, Azure Fellow, thanks for coming in. But if this is not done, this is where I'll be returning to. So we might get to interesting things like looking at metadata for Open Graph and Twitter cards, and these are all of these have this centralized theme about how is this going to be shareable? How does this interact with the rest of the world in a friendly way? Because I know for a fact that a lot of homeschool families are on Facebook, and if they see this new website and drop the link into their Facebook feed, and then I don't have the Open Graph information to populate that little post that's going to show up on Facebook, then I've already set myself on a bad foot of nobody's going to want to click that. So that's what a lot of this is about, is really making sure that the app is well positioned to be received by a community. So that's what I'm going to do, and hope you all enjoyed it. I will be taking all this content and posting it up on YouTube, so if you want to look back and check out something I did or the way that I did something, you're welcome to do that. I want to thank you all for joining in. It's been fun to chat with you and make some project on this project. So progress on this project. Anyway, thank you all so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Take care.